Mr. James Foo, welcome to the Rich Equation podcast, man.
Thanks for having me.
I'm really excited for this. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We recently just met on social media, and it's amazing how you can still meet really cool people, build authentic relationships on social media. You're doing such great things. So I thought it'd be amazing to kind of get lost in all that is Mr. Foo and everything that you're doing. You have spent a lot of time, you're a marketing strategist. You are self acclaimed to be sort of a strategic advisor, and we're going to talk a lot about that. But you have this holistic approach to growth and business growth. The objective goal for you when you work with people or some of your clients are that how do we help the company grow, or how do we help you and the business grow? But you kind of are approaching this in a very holistic way, and so I'm just excited to talk about that. Like, what the hell does that mean? And let's hack into it, right? Let's get into the details of that. I apologize. I'm kind of struggling with a couple days flu thing, but it's good to see you, man. And I'm excited that you're here.
Thanks for having me and for the opportunity to have this. It was so nice that we connected on Instagram, and then you're like, you know what, just tell me like what would you talk if I have you as a guest, and then I think I mentioned some of the holistic growth and the how do I turn service providers into strategic advisors, and I do it because I did it for myself. I was a service
Of course.
provider for public relations, and then I met some people that helped me to position myself as a strategic advisor, and I started doing that for my clients. And now instead of being the PR guy, I am the fractional CMO of the company. And now I'm able to come in as a CMO level, like I sit at the table and we look eye to eye almost as partners. So I become a growth partner for my clients. And because of also my own testimony and a lot of people in my network, my clients, I realized that in order to grow the company, the leaders need to grow too. Especially, I work directly with the owner of the company and helping that with the holistic growth, which is taking care of your personal side and make sure that you don't get on your own way. So then you can develop your business and your client businesses, right? So
Mm.
that's why that holistic growth comes from.
So let's start with that. Let's start with us. Let's start with the personal side. You sound like you've had your own journey of that. Maybe you're still going through the journey.
Yes, I
Tell
am.
us about perhaps your personal experience. I think we all have. It's part of why I've launched this podcast also. But tell us a little bit about your personal journey, about some of the things that showed up for you that you knew you had to work on and improve. And, you're such a blessing that you're now doing it for other people and reflecting that mirror back to others. But what was it for you that really got you on this path?
So just to give you a quick background, I'm originally from Puerto Rico. I went and moved to the States and lived there for 7 years. I went with the Air Force, got recruited with the Air Force. Then in my last 6 months of the Air Force, that's when I started my company. And I had this idea of being a full service agency because that was what I was learning in the coaching program. And in there, that's when I started the self development because the first theme of the coaching program was to set a North Star. So when things get hard, you have that north, that anchor. Sometimes I say like that keeps you grounded for you to not quit, right? So that's kind of where it all started.
Hmm.
Fast forward, I did a couple of years of instead of being service full service, I decided to commit more to public relations and start helping people that are like coaches, consultants, agency owners that did not offer that public relations. And I started growing in there, and that was fine. And I love the authority and visibility of public relations, and I always will. But it wasn't holistic, right? It wasn't something that allowed me to really give all my knowledge that I've been learning throughout the journey
Hmm.
of just building my own business and connections and all that. And then from there, I was like, damn, like this PR thing. I was even thinking about like it's like so limiting. I should have quit this and do something else. Like, but what would I do anyway? And I was like, I love marketing. And in there, I with my podcast, I invited somebody to my podcast and we traded interviews. It was in person, and then they taught me about this thing about they specialize on turning service providers into trusted business advisors. And I was at
Hmm.
first I was like, what does that even mean? Like, what are you saying? And then when I started learning about it, I was like, oh, I got like this aha moment, and I was like, wow, like this is great. But I feel I was equipped with all the business tools that I needed. I was like, this is it. Being a marketing strategist, being a fractional CMO, director of marketing, whatever you want to call it, like at that strategic advisor level. But I still was missing something, and it was because I needed to develop myself first, and more than that, prioritize myself, and then the business and everything else later. Me first. And when I started doing that, I actually met with a coach in person, and she helped me tap into that. She calls herself an erotic alchemist, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting, what it is. And I
That
was
does
doing
sound
marketing for
interesting. What
her.
does that even mean?
Alchemy. Let's talk about that, right? Alchemy is turning pain into magic. That's the definition, the short definition of
Mm,
alchemy. So, erotic alchemist is how do you turn all the shame and the taboo and that secrecy, almost, right? Like that nobody kind of wants to talk about sex and sexual energy, sexual related topics. And that was like something that was interesting to me because I'm a person, to be very transparent, very like sexual person. And I think that if the world talked more about sex, then we wouldn't be in the situation that we are with so much porn
mm,
addiction and so many things, right? So that was an in for me. I was like, hey, this is different. This is not like this life coaching, like kind of, there's also, she's very grounded, not very woo woo. So I was like, okay, I was doing marketing for her first. And then I was like, you know what? I think you can help me. And then I started working with her, and she got me, the first thing that she got me to do was to start with breath work. So then I started
mm.
with breath work, something simple like a box breathing, which is just like start 4 to 7 seconds. You breathe in, hold it for 4 to 7 seconds, breathe out, the same thing, right? And you just repeat that pattern minimum 3 minutes, and then you go up from there. So I started doing that. Okay, this is easy. Then I started doing more like uh, 20 to 25 minutes of breath work, and really get into that like belly chest out, and like really like get to like you feel in the body. It's like work, like breath work, right? It's not like something that it's really almost like a workout but with breathing. And then the conversations are very open about my relationship, about sexuality, and about all that thing of my desires and all that, combined with the meditation, the breath work, and the yoga that I was already doing. Combine all that, that was something that really got me to reflect on myself and to grow and to understand myself better. And she helped me unpack those things. Like, I mean, I've done professional psychologist multiple times, multiple different people, and she has helped me like beyond, way beyond that,
Mm.
by not being this traditional approach. So then from there, I ended up moving back to Puerto Rico, sold my house, broke up with my girlfriend, and like started again because I was just needed to restart, because I had like this awakening, and I realized then my business started taking off. I started aligning with the right clients, with the right values, mission, and vision, and started getting the CMO roles. And I'm like, wow, like alignment,
It's
right? This is
creating
this is what
momentum.
I needed.
What do you feel was the most profound thing that came out of this deep work, this self-reflection? What was the biggest, I guess, epiphany of self-reflection that were like, "Oh my god."
I had a toxic relationship with myself, and that's why was also allowing to have toxic relationships with in my relationship, in with partners, with clients, with people that I hire. And I lost a lot of money for because of hundreds of thousands of dollars because of hiring the wrong people. And it was because it started by me having a toxic relationship with myself. So that was
Mm,
my biggest epiphany.
beautiful, man. Marketing is such a nebulous woo-woo thing for so many people. And now you're talking about PR, you're talking about reputation, you're talking about breath work. It's like, here we go again with all this woo woo stuff. But I have really been drinking the Kool Aid in a sense that it's so important to be having digital reputation in this ecosystem today. And a lot of listeners on this podcast are industrial CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, leaders in different industries, businesses. And we are not social media moguls, right? We're just entrepreneurs. And one of the things that I think is really fascinating is we just so underplay the importance of PR, branding, social media influence, all of that. And because you come from that world, tell us about, I mean, you're not, obviously, you're going to tell me why it's important, but what I want you to kind of pour into these people today and listener, if you're listening, is is really like, how can we get out of our way and how can we get on the right path of this journey when the first things that come to our minds, just like what happened to me, is like, oh, I don't want to be on Instagram. I don't want to be on social media. I don't like to be in front of the video camera. I don't want to create content. No one wants to hear what I have to say. I'm too vain and shy, you know? Blah, blah, blah. You get it. You know. It's
I
not
know this
easy.
very
And
well.
even for us, it's not easy. It's work, right? So
Definitely.
tell us about that. The world is going more digital. The world is going more social. Guys like us can meet quickly online. We can create content. We can create value for each other. The world is shifting this way. I wouldn't have found you if you didn't have a social media presence, right? So just talk to us about that.
So everything starts with mindset. So you gotta make sure that you don't have these limiting beliefs like, oh, who wants to listen to me, and I look ugly on camera, or I sound like an idiot or whatever, right? Like you gotta eliminate those things. So that's why I go back into the point, right, of like that self development, right? So if you
Right.
don't, if you can overcome that, then you don't even start, and then you get on your own way, and you know, like it's very limiting. So start there. The second thing is commitment. So you just gotta commit, be willing to suck for a while, just embrace it, embrace the suck, like just that's something that I learned in the military. Like just embrace the suck. Sometimes you're in the season and you're deployed or whatever, you gotta embrace the suck. It's a season, right? So embrace that. And like you're gonna sound like an idiot most likely, but documenting that growth is also a good thing. People love seeing that raw, and then when they see you multiple times, and then
Mhm.
oh, a year from now, and 2 years from now, and 3 years from now, and then wow, like I remember when he started. Look at where he is now, right? That's something that I've been experiencing in my clients too. So you just gotta be commit and be willing to suck, right? Like it's just gonna happen. And the other thing is to stack an undeniable proof that you are who you say you are, right? Like so if you want that authority and you want people to believe you and all that stuff, then just stack a bunch of proof. And then it all starts with small things like, did you get a video and post it today? It doesn't have to have a lot of views, doesn't have to have the perfect sound, and you might fumble a couple words, doesn't matter, but you start stacking them, and then oh, you got better, and you got better, and you got better, and that's when people really start listening and start catching up. And then after that, okay, you're good at what you do. Now you're communicating, you're committed, you're not getting in your own way. And now it's like positioning, like that's a very big part, right? Like it's now like you kind of start figuring out like what is even my positioning, but start testing, right? You start putting things out. Is it resonating, is it not? When you find okay, this is what I do, for who I do it, and what's my distinguishing factor, and I'm able to communicate it properly through social media, that one to many. Now that this is good, now I can start going into position myself as a more maybe first as a from service provider to trusted advisor, right? And then from there you go into the thought leadership piece, right? But first you got to
Mhm.
make sure that your business can support you going full on thought leadership, right? Because if you're stuck doing number crunching, for
It's a
example, if you're
great
a
point.
CPA, right? So you got to make sure that you prepare your business so that way you can go and do more thought leadership, go into more podcasts, more speaking engagements, and all that. And then, start testing ads, for example, right? Like now that you have honed down your message and you're good, and that's why you go into more, authority and visibility, and running then the things through your system, right? But you need to have that system and that business ready, that foundation. So then you just focus on that thought leadership, and that if you see like Alex Hormozy or all this big people, that's what they're doing. They have systemized their things, and now they're just going full thought leadership, acquiring companies, or whatever variation every thought leader slash big business person is doing.
Yeah, no, I think that's incredible, spot on. I mean, I think you're right. Like the people, everybody wants to aspire to be those people, and they skip the first one or two steps. It's like, well, I'm just going to get on a podcast. I'm going to be the thought leader. I was like, you haven't even built one or two steps. And I think that, and you just touched on this, and I want to go deeper is as a business, understanding who your key customer is, what value proposition you're providing them, how you are going to provide that value proposition. You have a framework for like what is the special sauce, right? Like you have a framework for what are the tips and strategies that you build for somebody to go through your phases of being a strategic advisor and getting there first. Forget about thought leadership. That is like 5 steps away. You're not going to be on the stage talking about whatever you're talking about if you cannot solve these basic fundamental problems. And I think for me, I see a lot of companies, founders, leaders who want to solve all kinds of problems for everybody. And this is where they get stuck. It's like you're already jumping to thought leader, you're already jumping to be an advisor for everything before you're advisor of one good thing really, really well. And I say this a lot on the podcast of like, before you start exceeding expectations, meet them, right? So talk to us about what are the strategies, the tactics on how to build this out for somebody. Like, I want a checklist in my mind of, okay, I understand what Fu said. Check, check, check.
Perfect. So first is to start with strategy. A lot of people start with tactics and they're like, oh, they just throw things on the wall and hoping that something will stick. So start
Yeah.
with strategy. And what that means is start with an opportunity analysis and a strategic plan. Opportunity analysis is, okay, where are you at right now? Do an assessment of like completely, like where are you right now? All the resources, everything that you have. Where do you want to be, right? Where those are the goals. And then not there's the financial goals, but there's also the short-term and long-term goals that you have as a person, right? Making sure that what are you willing to do, what you're not willing to do, make sure you're very clear on those things. And then you make a strategic plan to pair those two. And this is at a
Mhm.
high level. It's not, oh, I'm gonna do Facebook ads, right? Like that's not a strategy. That's a tactic, right? So go, okay, I need to drive more traffic to this specific page. Okay, cool. What can we do? Can we go? Are we going long game SEO? Are we going Facebook ads? Are we going Google ads? Are we going content boosting something, right? Like there's so many different ways, like media buying offline even, right?
Those
Like
are the
those don't have to be
tactics. Those are the
right. Those are
tactics.
all the tactics, right? So that's why start with the strategic level, that 30,000 foot view of how it looks short term, midterm, and long term. Right now,
Mm.
then you go in and you start going into that unique selling proposition discovery. In if you have very something very good there, just kind of like make sure that you check all the boxes and it's all good. If not, then just some do deep work, so that way you know, like, this is my ideal client avatar, this is what I do for them, and this is my distinguishing factor. So that way I'm not competing with anybody because I have this experience, right? And that's a big part of that unique selling
Huge.
proposition. Like, the experience is this. I love saying this comparison is like the difference between a Ritz Carlton or like a Best Western or Motel 6. The difference between those two is that one is giving you a very high end experience and the other one isn't. It's just the cheapest, right? So but they're both giving you a bed and a safe place to stay. That's it, right? Like, they're
Yeah.
both in essence the same thing, but one is like giving you
Yeah.
a high end experience, the other one is just giving you the cheapest for you to just sleep in that, right? But they're both doing the same thing. So that's kind of like the like who you want to be, and being the cheapest and the highest quality is never good unique selling propositions, because nobody is taking the opposite, right? Like nobody is like saying like there's always going to be somebody cheaper, and there's always gonna nobody's gonna say I'm the worst quality, right? So those are key things that I want to get through this thing, and
Well,
then
I think the other
after those
thing,
things,
I
you're
love
good.
this, and I want to go deeper on this before I let you keep going, because I think this is like so critical, and I think this is the biggest thing that even I missed, and we alluded to this before, is like people buy stuff from people, and I asked this question like, why should somebody buy from us? What is our biggest value proposition? And if you're untrained to answer that question, you're it's all we're the best price for the best value. We're the best quality. We have really good people. We have great customer service. Like, what the hell does any of that mean anymore? You know? And I think people, it's a very easy, comfortable answer. And I think that if you really want to excel, if you really want to outpace growth of a normal marketplace, you're going to have to tap into the things you're talking about is who are we? What is the experience we're providing? Can my customer connect with me personally beyond just the product I sell and build that trust and that reliability? And then how do I execute that? I think that's where not only do you increase margin, you increase growth, you have deeper customer retention, et cetera, right? So this is I love this topic because it is such a easy trap to talk about unique selling proposition to say, oh, well, we're best value and we deliver on time. and we have great customer service. Like, what does that mean? And does anyone really care? So, anyways, keep
Mhm.
going because I think we
And
have
you
to
can
ask ourselves deeper questions.
no, 100%. And what you say, like, oh, I have the best or the best customer service. Okay, why, right? Like, be specific. Well, the
Be
Ritz Carlton,
specific.
for example, they have in their standard procedures that every employee at any level, even the janitor, have up to, like, I think it's like $2,000 that they can just spend on a client if they complain about something. Oh, my food or something, they just bring you a new food, no questions asked. Oh, like, I need more coffee thing, they bring you the coffee, the creamer, the everything. Like, they're like, doesn't matter, like, they are out there, are instructed by their leaders to, like, hey, don't even ask me, go and take care of it. You have up to like $2,000 to just take care of it on the spot, don't even ask. And that's like, oh, great customer experience. Like, those are the things that you should be saying, not just, oh, we got great customer experience, right? Like, that's a great example for what you were saying. It's not a matter of like, oh, like, we deliver fast. Well, okay, be more specific. Like, you turn it to us, and in 72 hours or less, we get it ready. Boom. You see, like, those things. And then, especially if your competition normally doesn't do that, right? That's a great position, because you taking the you need to have an enemy. Like, right, you need to have like a, like that the opposite, so that way it's like you're competing like, that's what makes me different, right? And this
Absolutely.
makes me think about the new book that just came out, I think it was yesterday, from Patty Pitt David. This is called Choose Your Enemies Wisely. and
Yes.
and that's, that's like who you pick as your enemies, even in your marketing, even in the personal side, right? Like, oh, that person that told me that I couldn't do it, and now I'm gonna prove them wrong. You see, those things, like, if you choose your right enemies, then that you get that fuel to really accomplish big things. So that's a cool thing that I've been listening Patrick Bet David talk, and I'm being diving into his content. I really like it.
Yeah, me too. All right, keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. This I thought this
No,
was super
so
important.
no, no, that's fine. Like, after you go to the opportunity analysis, strategic marketing plan, then you go into that unique selling proposition discovery. Now is when we go into the front end management, right? And that's the attractor, at how you attracting, capturing, and nurturing, right? That part. So after you got the unique selling proposition, first thing is like, okay, let's do a brand audit, right? If everything, what's in it here that we can change, or that we need to change, because it's getting on the way of our unique selling proposition, right? And that doesn't mean, oh, let me go and do a full rebrand or anything. No, like, cash flow is king. Worry on that first. Is eliminate all the things that are getting on the way, right? So make sure you're not contradicting yourself, but then keep moving, right? Like, keep moving, like, on okay, how what am I doing to attract, right? What am I doing to capture, right? Like, what am I? Do I have a CRM, and do I have a lead man, and I'm making it easy for people to just give me name and email, right? Like, simple stuff. And then what am I doing for, like, nurture, right? Like, am I posting content, am I sending emails weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, whatever the case may be, depending on your ideal client, right? Now that you have that you do, big part that I forgot to mention about the unique selling proposition is the validation. That's the most important part of the unique selling proposition, or the unique selling proposition discovery, right? That validation. So after you do all these assumptions, then you have to validate, right? So talk to 20 plus people in that process, validate that unique selling proposition, validate that they are who you actually want to serve, and they're willing to pay the money that you are charging them. And after you have that, and only after you have that validation, you went to that process, we even have a script for it. And then you soft sell people during that process, right? Because if they're the right people, then you're like, hey, I'm launching this new program. You want to jump in, right? If they fit, then they jump in. You have some soft sell there. Now I'm validated. Okay, now I'll go to the brown audit, doing all those things. And now, as I can start pushing the actual marketing tactics, because
Mm,
now I know that I have something validated. So now I can start putting a little bit of money behind it, because
mm,
I already validated. So that was one thing that I forgot to mention, because, like, very important, right? And then after, now you do that front end management, then you start doing things in the back end, right? Then you start looking at, okay, let me look at the offer. Can I make it better? Can I raise my prices? Do I need help with the sales, right? Like, do I need sales training, or do I need to change my sales process? And then after this, the converting into sales part, then is the, what do I do after the sale to create raving fans that will stay with me arguably, forever, right? That's the ideal scenario, right? We do things like strategic gifting, for example. That's a
Mm,
very big thing. And then long-term nurture, because see, if you can get this, if you can get, you have 100 leads, and then out of those 100 leads you typically convert 10 of them, but then with the long-term nurture now, you can convert 10 extra more in over the course of 6 months to 18 months. You double a business that way, because it costs you the same to acquire the same 100 leads, and now you close 20 instead of 10 because of long-term nurture. And then the strategic gifting gives you also people to stay, because they don't feel like a transaction. They feel like, wow, like this person actually cares about me and gave me something that I care about, not something that you care about, right? That's a
mm.
big caveat there of the strategic gifting. And then they start getting you referrals, because they say like, oh damn, like you won't believe, like I started working with Foo. He sent me a mug with my name and with the logo of my football team that I love, and like I use it all the time. I mean, yeah, if you need marketing, you gotta talk to Foo,
Strategic
right?
gifting.
And now you start getting referrals, and then you get it with predictability, because if you keep doing these things all the time, and also you are very intentional about making it easy for your clients to refer you, then that's how you have predictability on that, and you can orchestrate referrals, right? Like you can orchestrate them because you're guiding your clients to how to make it easy for you. And that's, then you can make referral programs, strategic partnerships, and that's the revenue expansion.
I love it. With all the people that you're working with right now, all your clients, what is the one thing people struggle with the most?
The hardest part is to have that distinguishing factor and get that little piece of the market. After you can have a little piece of the market that creates predictable revenue, right? So that's the key. It's like, how do I brand myself and position myself and have the right message, so I can create people that will give me predictable revenue. And after you have cash flow, regardless how small it is, after you have something that is going, you have predictability, then scaling from there, that's the fun part, right? But that part of, what
So
do I
what are we
say,
talking
run
about? We're
that brand.
talking about like finding the niche, getting the unique selling proposition. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, yes. Like, so validating, that validation process that I talked earlier, that's the hardest,
That's
the
the hardest
biggest
part.
hump, like the hardest part, like that
Yeah,
validation, right? You make all your assumptions, and then when you go validate, that's usually the hardest part that I see on my clients.
that's interesting. I agree with that. I think there's probably a story to be told where every major company that doesn't make it or any small company that doesn't make it is because they didn't change the strategy fast enough. And so you like think what you think you know what that unique selling proposition is or what your niche is, and you play that playbook out for 9 months, 12 months. It doesn't generate you the return that you want it to. You don't pivot fast enough. You continue to keep doing that for another 12 months, another 24 months, and you end up like, oh, this business doesn't make sense. You shut it down.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's
how
why the
does that make
test is
sense?
important. That, yeah, it makes total sense, right? And that's why that always test, validate, improve. Those are the
Yeah.
three
Yeah.
keywords for
Test,
overcoming
validate, and
that.
improve. Yeah, I love it. So, what is next for you? What is the future of Foo?
Future of food. That sounds kind of nice. Maybe
You like
maybe I
that,
should
right?
make it about that, right?
The future of
Future of
Foo, that's your
food,
next podcast. Go.
right?
And what are you working on? What are you working on from your strategy perspective? Like, where are you going with everything that you have going on?
I'm going all in on content. Like that's the thing. It's I moved here to Puerto Rico. I'm building a studio here. If you see like the panels and stuff, and still
Yeah.
putting it together. It's just being here a month and less than a month and a half. So I'm that's the next thing, because for me to, I first of all, I love it. I love doing podcasts. I love doing content in general, and being able to have my own platform. Like you, I know you have this one, right, that you bring me, and be that's a great way to lead with value with people. The higher the value my platform has, the higher the value of the people that I can bring. So I can bring
Of
more
course.
influencers and more like famous people, or very like even government officials, whatever, like people with a lot of authority and visibility that then I can collaborate with, because I'm inviting them to my stage, so to speak, which is, my content, my studio here. And it's about not only the studio, also the experience that I give them, right? It's not just the physical things, it's the whole experience. They come here and they have experience with food, right? And that's my goal, right? I have my podcast that I've done mainly virtual. I have a couple episodes here and there that have been in person, but now I want to just commit more to in person
Mm,
and grow that, because then
totally.
that I can drive traffic not just to me but also for my clients. And because I position myself as a strategic advisor, and that's also what I tell my clients to do, I'm growing myself, but I'm also growing their own platforms. And now people come to us, and then I can give them business, they give me business, and we all have like this tribe, right? With a common overall mission of that
It's
holistic growth.
important.
And then we have like, oh, the chiropractor, the coach that helps with the sexuality and things, or the coach that helps with the executive coaching. And we combine the CPA, that we, and then it's this
Interesting.
hub where the people that align with my mission, my values, and my vision, then we all get together, and I can basically fulfill the needs of all their needs, either directly or indirectly.
I love it. Yeah, I think it's so interesting and underrated to have a social media presence in some capacity. And I really urge people to start building it and whatever. You don't have to have a podcast, but you got to start building a digital reputation in some capacity. This is the future. It is also way more efficient. I guess what I wanted to ask you though is it is important to know how to build personal relationships and come from a place of integrity and be able to really connect with people face to face on phone, not just in social media. And I'm really fascinated with what you think about that. I think that the culture of America, the culture of the way we engage with people is changing. Although there is a lot of tradition in meeting somebody, shaking their hand, sitting down at a table, talking face to face, working through things, building trust that way. AI is coming
It's
and
here.
it's here. And I'd love to hear a little bit about how you think that's going to affect things in the way we market or grow, or how we should be thinking about AI in that. But I think we cannot underestimate the importance of face-to-face personal relationships and personal communication. Or am I outdated in that thinking and saying, Ashish, that aspect of human nature is going to change? What is your perspective on that, and how are you seeing the world evolve with all of the things that are going on?
Social media is meant to be social, right? And the best social media people that I have, like the most like that I engage with, are people that I met in person or that I want to meet in person. It's not. I don't.
Mm,
I typically don't follow people if I don't want to meet them in person. Like, will I meet them soon or later? Like, I don't know, right? Because sometimes
right,
I don't know. Like, for example, Alex Hormozy, I will I meet him in person? I believe that I will. When? I don't know when, right? But
right.
in all the people that I follow is because I want to meet them in person, and the other way around. Like, I meet with people, and it's like, hey, you have Instagram? Like, let's stay connected, right? Sometimes like the phone, it's like, well, if I'm not gonna call you or text you for something specific, and I just met you, like, let me nurture myself through your social media first, or you also nurture yourself through my social media, and let's see if it makes sense to even get on a call. Give me your phone. So typically, if we vibe, like, hey, give me your number right away. Also, still connect on social media, right? Still, but
Totally,
sometimes if it's like, we just met kind of quick, hey, just give me your Instagram. Like, sometimes just on the fly, like, hey, I'm going there, but I just stopped here. Just
totally
give me
vibe
your
with.
Instagram real
Yeah,
quick, you know?
I totally
Yeah.
vibe
So
with that. Yeah,
yeah. Because like even this, like, we met in person, we do this thing, and now it's like, hey, you're pretty cool. Like, let's see if we can meet sometime. so
that's right.
that's for me. That's the main
Fascinating.
thing, and ultimately everything should be pushing for that, right? Like, oh, we get these things online, like webinars and things, but then there's nothing better than having an in-person event, right? So
Yeah.
this is great to have the accessibility, of being able to do this, but it's not gonna replace in person. It's just a combination, something
The
complementary.
energy is totally different. You're right. I've done some face to
Really different.
face, and so a lot I have to do through this because just logistically, but the in person connection of a podcast or a meeting is irreplaceable, and that
Irreplaceable.
just speaks to what we're talking about, right? That human nature component just cannot be replaced. What about AI? What about AI in
AI.
marketing? Let's get there.
AI. Wow. I love. I think right now. I mean, let's not talk about. It can get scary, right? And it's kind of getting scary. But let's just ignore the slippery slope that could go lead to something bad. Let's just focus on the good, right? Me and my team, we use AI every single day. In a great example that it's a good hack, I would say, is even this podcast. What I'm gonna do when you send me the file, I'm gonna send it to my team, and they're gonna go and put it in other AI. They're gonna get a transcript of it. Then that transcript they can put on ChatGPT, and then it's like, hey, give me the best quotes, the best takeaways, and then we can do articles. We do quote cards. We do short video content from it. We can get some scripts to then talk deeper into more other content that then I can record either audio and then they transform it into an article, or video for short video content, or even a full on, hey, I want to expand on this and I make a YouTube video out of it. Right. So that's how I'm using AI, is by the best way that I'm using it is by repurposing content. And another thing is to, I can just brain dump on order. I just turn on the mic and just like blah 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 blah. Then I take that and then I put it in ChatGPT. Give me the best takeaways of this. Boom,
Yeah,
and then now
organize
I have
this
the
into
takeaways.
thoughtful, coherent thoughts, right?
Exactly, and then it just speeds up the process so much, and even
Mm,
the notes, as I'm in Zoom, and then even now order at the end of the call, it says like, "Hey, here are the action steps based on what you guys talk." Pam, 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 and it's like, wow, like copy paste. These are our action steps after this call, right?
mm,
And then that gets emailed also, and you get in the email. Hey, here's the notes and all that. So that's how I see this that being super helpful in marketing is repurposing content, so you can become a content machine with just one assistant that you can offshore in Colombia and Philippines or whatever, that is able to create a bunch of content out of your own content that you have already there and just repurpose it in different ways.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you cannot ignore it, right? You're gonna have to learn how to use it, utilize it. If you don't know what you're doing with it, that's okay, but just start playing with it. And it's just still amazing to me how many people haven't played with it enough or not even touching it yet. It's just quite mind blowing to me. I'm sure you in marketing and marketing strategy, it's so critical in terms of copy or creating content or things like that. So that's like sort of obvious that we should be doing that in marketing or social, but just like from like accounting, from sales, operations, you know, there's so many other industries or businesses or departments that people are just not even thinking about it. So I really encourage you to figure it out and start going deeper. If you're listening, this is super important. You're not going to be able to ignore it, or it's going to put you out of work, one or the other.
Yeah, the next thing that I see that's starting to happen already, but it just hasn't been very democratized. Let's say it's being able to have like assistance. So like
Yeah,
now I think Google, like between yesterday or today, like very recent, like things like Genesis or something, and now you can like talk real time and see, show something on the camera, and then, oh yeah, this is this and this is that, and it's like getting crazy good on like, wow, this is even way better than an assistant. Like they have access to all this knowledge and they just are there to help you. So being able to have like, hey, send this email to this person, say this thing, send it to me to prove it first. Okay, cool, this is good, send it. But imagine like all that I just told, like just didn't even write anything, just like
a
told them.
digital assistant that's sitting right here.
Right. And then like then the next thing that I see is like all like cooking, cleaning, doing the yard work, all that stuff, like the Tesla bot, right? Like when that comes out, then it's like, well, I don't have to worry about like cooking and cleaning all that stuff. I just have a program and it's doing it for me, brings it to me and all that. So And what I'm looking forward to, that without counting the slippery slope going to like
Sure.
that could go bad, right? The good thing is I see this as, if we do this right, we are going to go to the next step in the human evolution where we're all strategists, or if not, then you're like homeless or something, right? Because like at that point, like if
Mm,
anybody else can do all the mundane tasks, let's say, so then we all have to be strategists. We all have to be pushing, like that could be art, that could be like in the business, that could be whatever, right? Like we can all focus on those things. So
value.
maybe like humanitarian and all that stuff are more possible, because now you get taken care of all the basic stuff. So
Yeah.
now, we're not stuck in this capitalism thing of like, oh, well, we got all the basic things met. Now it's like, if you want to go further, then let's push it further, like let's push the limits. That's where I'm excited about.
Yeah, I mean, we're going down a whole nother, but we could talk about this for a long time, right? Because as technology improves, we will become more prosperous. And where does that, how do we set ourselves up for that to succeed? I think for sure, if technology improves our day to day life, and you're just saying, like, I can ask a computer anything, then, and if I can ask it, then anyone can ask it. So there's a lot of day to day functionality that perhaps I think that I'm adding value today that will be democratized and pretty much anyone can provide it. So then, you know, what is it that I should be spending my time on that perhaps computers or AI cannot solve, which is what we're talking about is maybe even just being in integrity. Can I have a relationship or a connection with a human being? A robot may not be able to do that. Can I be creative? Can I be strategic? Can I think about complex problems in different ways? And can I work on those things? Um, I think, and I was just having a conversation with somebody that helps people get into college, and like, is college necessary? What are the
Not in my
reasons why
book.
we go to college now? That's going to change. So, anyways, we're getting lost, but like these are fun topics for me. I think this is something we all need to think about.
Definitely. Like we're just thinking about what's next, right? Like if,
What's
if we don't
next?
have to worry about basic survival, then
Yeah.
for me, it's like enlightenment. Like where do we go? And there's gonna be also like the chain reaction of, not everybody's gonna get it at the same time. So the first people that get those things, then helping the other ones that don't have it and develop those, like those third world countries and all that, and being able to catch up to that. And now when we're all like leveled up, then it's like, okay, like let's see like how further can we take our minds, because it's the only thing that we have to work on now. And I
Mhm.
think that's the next step in evolution. Like I said, it's like, because I don't think we're developed, a lot of people are not developing their minds because they're operating just on survival. And when you
Yeah.
eliminate that, then what's next? Like as humans, we need to have problems to solve, like to survive. That's just scientifically proven. So now that we don't have the basic stuff, now that's how I see, like, how big can we go now in here, because that's the only thing that we need to work on now that we have the basic survival things met.
I love it, buddy. As we wrap up, let me ask you a few final questions. If people want to connect with you, they want to learn more about you, they perhaps want to hire you, what is the right place to find you and connect with you?
uh, James L as in Louis Foo, FOO, like Foo Fighters. That's my username across all social media. So that's, Instagram is like the one that I really like the most. Easier like to do DMs. Also I'm pretty big on LinkedIn, so like you can look me up for LinkedIn. That's also like James Foo Torres, or you can put James L Foo, because that's also like I edit my link to say that. So
Love it.
that's the thing. Just reach out. You're a service provider, specifically, more specifically in the I like the like accounting and tax pro space. I love that space because taxes is such a big problem. You make money, you got big tax liability, especially that first generation rich people, right? Like, oh, I just worry about making all this money, and then now I have taxes, and then that's such a big problem that they solve. But then they get stuck in this like number crunching, and then I help them go from, hey, let's stop number crunching and get paid more for strategy, so then you can scale. And then from there, after you build that, then you go to the thought leadership. So
Mhm.
that's why I
True in
really
so
love
many
working with
categories
them.
though.
Yeah, I love working with that because I really like the taxes, because it's such a like every year you have to pay taxes, you make money, right? So that's a big door to for them to come in and solve this huge problem. And now and they're already seen almost as advisors already. They just don't see themselves. So then helping them with that little switch, and then I help them win big. So that's why
Love
I
it.
I really like that. But I also, leadership, or all other places that I help to. But I that one specifically, I just love. Accounting is the language of business. So that's what
That's right.
I really like that.
And for James Foo, what does it mean to live a rich life?
For me, to live a rich life is to live a life with purpose. Life that you are free, you have options to do whatever you want. So that's why, like, the money part, it gives you options, so that's why it's very important. And then be have impact while doing it. So that's the rich life for me. If I can travel whatever I want and go to different masterminds and conventions, and just because I have options, because I have the money, and then I'm having impact everywhere I go. And that's also why I like the content, because that's a way that I can do that one to many, and being able to do collaborations with people and tap into their audiences, and they tap into mine, right? And we help each other out. So that's what living a rich life means to me.
Dude, thanks so much, man. Thanks for being here. Great conversation. I feel like we could have talked another hour or two. We were getting into some good
Definitely.
wormholes there. I appreciate you, man. Thanks so much for all the work you're doing. I love your framework. You got to start with us. Got to start with you. And we have to be out there, right? We have to work on things that we're uncomfortable working on, whether it's ourselves or our messaging, or getting super clear about who our customer is and knowing who our customer is not. So just great takeaways today. Um, Thanks so much for listening to the Rich Equation podcast. James, thanks for being here. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Make sure you reach out to James, follow him as well. And love you guys. Thanks so much. Peace. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to the Rich Equation podcast. Listen, if you're really enjoying this and you're engaging with our community, we have an epic mastermind called the Epic Tribe. We meet every single week, and we're bringing together leaders that really are trying to grow their businesses, expand their lives, and live epic lives together. If you want to change the world, well, we have to start with ourselves. We want to ignite leadership in all facets of our life, building communities of seekers who are asking questions, breaking patterns, and have a deep conviction of self. A space that elicits accountability, gratitude, freedom, and a lifelong pursuit of learning. Ultimately, this is all about you. It's about transforming our families and hopefully future generations. So we're really trying to instill these fundamental levels of awareness, habits, and skill sets, not only in our personal life, but in our businesses. We're really growing this community and trying to have people that are expansive and really want to take their life to the next level. So if that sounds like you, then you'd be a perfect fit. DM me on my Instagram, or you can send me an email personally at me@ashishnathu.com. Thank you guys so much for listening, but please engage. Leave us a 5-star review of the podcast. Make sure you download the episodes, and talk to you soon. We'll see you on the other side.